passionate about working there. And if you have if your company gets a bad reputation for some reason, or is known for like being an unpleasant place to work, then it's just going to be way harder for you to sustain your business in the future. Now, for indie companies, like I imagine most of the audience and myself are involved with, how do we compete against these like behemoth companies? And the answer is it's hard, and one of the biggest problems is there's a lack of good guidance to this day. It's getting better, and I think that's one of the things that Gamebrain is going to be helping to address. But yeah, I mean, I think some of the key things you have to keep in mind are that you need to be creative. You need to find a way to take risks that some of the bigger studios aren't willing to take. Do something that's non-formulaic. And I think this is why we see a lot of projects on Kickstarter take off. It's because people are so tired of seeing the same formulas. When they see something that's really original and takes risks, they're willing to bet on it. I think it's also the same reason why you see a game like Flappy Bird just fly to the top of the charts, because it's completely original, doesn't expect a high commitment from players, and nevertheless is still really fun to play. But keep in mind that monetization is still important. One of the reasons that people do stick to these standard formulas is because they have very clear monetization paths. If you do something different, still keep in mind, okay, like how am I going to make money at the end of the day? Or at least if you want to build a sustainable company out of it. And some of the big companies move quite quickly, but if you're a team of 2, 4, 6, or in that range, you can move at unbelievable speed. And there's a lot of things and by nature of being a new company, you get the advantage of being able to adopt and learn brand new technologies. You get to immediately start with the best practices. So one example is you should absolutely build a cross-platform game. I'm always shocked by any company that releases a game that's only on one platform, especially considering how easy it is to build a cross-platform app these days. The other is make sure the quality is good. It's not worth building a game if it's not feature-worthy. No one's going to play it because there's so much free content out there that is already featured by the App Store and available to people. And the third point is make sure the game is fun and sticky before you release. Once something's out there, it's way harder to polish it and try to draw on users. It's better to just release something that's good from day one, in the game space at least. The other point is take advantage of third-party tools. There's more coming out every day, and they can really save you a lot of time. The simplest example is use an SDK to do cross-platform support. If you're writing a game in Objective-C and not porting to Android, you're losing a huge piece of your audience. And then other things like the Parse provides an excellent third-party backend, so you don't have to worry about hosting and handling databases as you scale. Or a tool like Firebase, which handles real-time communication between your users if you're making a multiplayer game, is really excellent. But be smart about the tools you use. A lot of people will be pitching you on using their weird Motion SDK or asking you to pay hundreds of dollars per month to use their tool, and usually it's not worth it. And then don't spend money on advertising unless you really know what you're doing. You will be getting constant requests for you to pay money to advertise your games in places, and just don't do it until you know that you're going to get a return on investment from it. And finally, band together with other indies. The way you learn about how to build successful games is by sharing your experiences with others and learning from their experiences. And then I want to say that I've taken a look at Gamebrain. I'm pretty excited about what they're doing for a couple reasons. And one is that this whole problem of not knowing what steps you need to take to even build a game that gets a little bit of traction really affected us, and we had to sort of guess at it and got lucky. But they're putting together, if I understand, a really good set of guides to help developers find a clear path to building something that does well. And that's really going to be great for the indie community. Yeah, and then I wanted to mention also that we've been building games for a while, but now my company is actually switching directions as well. We've noticed that there's really been a lack of third-party tools to do a few really important things for app developers. And so we're actually moving to developing tools ourselves. Not quite ready to announce anything yet, but excited about, and keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully we'll get some press on it in the near future. So I wanted to open it up to a brief Q&A. Any questions?
Can folks in the back hear me? Yeah?
Don't be shy.
Yeah, don't be shy.
Sure. But, okay, so you said somewhere in there, essentially polish the game first before putting something out. Because if you put something out that, no good, then nobody's going to be interested in it, sort of thing, which makes plenty of sense. Although that seems contrary to me to what I thought was the mantra,
Minimal viable product.
Yeah, there you go.
Unfortunately, that's the way I would say for web apps, that's been true for a long time. For mobile, that just doesn't seem to be the way to do it these days. Or at least, if you're going by the minimal viable product approach, your minimal viable product needs to be really good to stand out from everything else in the market. And one of the problems is if for instance, one of your goals is to release a game and get it featured, it's way harder to do it after you release an update to the game to get Apple's attention. The best time to do it is to release a great app in the very beginning, and then try to get their attention at that point. Usually works much better.
So, would you say that it's important to have a demo before you start getting funding, or try to look for funding, or is it important to have the entire game finished before you get to the funding stage?
My experience looking into fundraising around just building games is that it's extremely hard and people are going to be super skeptical, especially if the game is not released yet. In order to raise money, at least from most angels and VCs, you not only need to have a game that's out, released and successful, but you also need to have a clear plan to build a really big business out of it.
Kickstarter? I mean, would a demo work for?
Yeah, totally. Kickstarter is a totally different pattern, I would say. I mean, that's basically a pre-ordering platform, as far as I see it. So if you can convince people to get excited about what you're building and pre-order the Kickstarter, then that can work out really great. I don't have a whole lot of experience on it. I know that there's a lot of Kickstarter projects that don't get funded. So I guess one of the important things would be to look at the ones that do and figure out how you can
Emulate that?
Yeah, how to emulate them, essentially, yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering, because at the beginning you were saying, oh, we had these things together in a couple of weeks, and I mean, it seems that it's hard for that to be really polished. Are you saying that the environment has changed?
Well, two things. One is that we had sort of an unfair advantage, being that my co-founder is an incredible illustrator. So the reason we were able to hack this thing out, that was a really simple game, but nevertheless feature worthy, was because the artwork stood out dramatically from everything else on the market. That's probably true for like anyone who's like looking at building games, is you need to stand out in some exceptional way. Was there another question there, or was that it?
And well, I was just wondering, because it seemed like contradictory. You were saying,
Yeah.
I want something really polished, but at the same time, we
Okay.
got these things out in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so the other point I would make is that it's continually getting harder. If we released those games today, I would say they probably wouldn't get featured, but our timing was just good. It was sort of met the quality bar.
Yeah.
I mean, guess going back to the first question about the minimum viable product, my understanding was you wanted to do like a soft launch in the region and iterate it before you do a more global launch. Do you disagree with that?
No, I think it's usually a good way to do it, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, once you launch globally, it's hard to, and if it doesn't take off when you launch globally from the get-go, it's hard to get it to go from an update. I mean, a lot of people still do it that way, but on the other hand, if you're not feeling confident that your game is going to do well when you first release it, you shouldn't release it then. Because I mean, the other problem that could happen is maybe you'll release it, it's not as good as it should be, but it starts getting and losing users, and those users don't have as good of an experience as they would if you released the game a little bit later when it was more ready for them.
If you don't have like the quality assurance people do it, then I mean, it seemed like soft launch would address that to some extent.
Well, I'm not really talking about
I mean,
in regards to
that does influence it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not talking about just like quality assurance, for instance. I'm talking about like going out and having people play the game before you release it and getting their feedback, for instance.
Okay, that's what
And also playing it yourself. If you're a good game developer, a lot of times you can sort of tell yourself whether a game is going to be like fun or not. Would you personally enjoy playing it for an extended period of time? And if you're not there yet, then don't be in a hurry. Don't start to assume that other people will enjoy it more than you do, because they probably won't. The competition's pretty fierce.
So let's just take 2 more questions. In the far back was first there.
So 2 quick questions here. The first was Shackdown Shack's idea, and the second was, did you guys draft your terms and conditions for like first game you built, or did you use a way?
So the first question around Shackdown, I don't think it was Shack's idea. We actually partnered with a startup that has Shack as one of their shareholders, and they have his digital rights. And then they had a loose idea for what they want. And then Shack, I guess, probably did have the idea that games were going to be built with this. And they had a loose idea that they wanted a game where like Shack was fighting something. And they sent that to us and said, full creative control, like do what you guys want with it. And we came back to them with a proposal and they liked it. The other part around the terms of service, no, I don't think so. I mean, when you're a small company, like you have so little to like lose and for people to sue you for, like I wouldn't even like worry about it. I think you need to get lawyers involved once you have like money that people can sue out of you.
There's one more question right here in the middle.
So my question is something with your, like an indie developer versus a big company. Like a big company, obviously they have a huge teams and they invest a lot in engaging users and getting the data from the users. They spend a lot on analytics and A/B testing and that kind of stuff to see how the game is actually performing.
Yeah.
As an indie developer, like how much do you even care, or how much do you want to invest into that?
You invest whatever you think you can afford to. The big companies are kind of playing a different game than the indies play. The game that indies can play is that they can build a game quickly and release it at very little cost, where the revenue they earn from the game can substantially cover the cost that they invest. But when you're a big studio with 100 people working on a game for 6 months, the amount of cost that you put into that game is extremely high. So you need to invest the extra time to make sure that it monetizes to the point where you earn back what you spent and more. As an indie developer, you just can't afford to do that as well. So you're oftentimes better off focusing on just making a game that's more fun to play, even if you don't optimize, even if you don't perfectly optimize all your purchasing channels and things like that.
Okay, let's give George a hand.
I'm just going to have Tom give you a quick word from Gamebrain.
Okay, thanks for coming, everyone. And this is just a 2-minute video. We just got it finished, and so we thought it'd be fun to kind of show it off. It gives a pretty good overview of what we're trying to do. We really believe in indies. We think this is the future of game development, but like George said, we have to fight a different fight, and we're in it with you guys. Our platform's pretty awesome, but it's going to get more awesome. So build a profile, get in there, join with us, and we will tailor it for you guys because we believe in you guys. So anyways, this is just a quick video with our little character and some fun. You saw it playing earlier, but you've got to turn the sound now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, thanks everyone.
Welcome to Gamebrain, a place where you can build better games. Now that you're in, build up your profile. It gives you visibility to our game development community, so please add your photo and tell everyone a bit about your skills and experience. As soon as your profile is ready, start looking for other uniquely skilled people. Try to invite a few of your friends or look around the community to invite like-minded people into your circle. Build a team to get support for ideas and valuable feedback. Before working on your game, check our workflow tool and let us guide you through an outline of what the mobile game development process could look like. Get started by creating your first project, uploading your ideas, and inviting other people to join. Then integrate the tools that will let you develop your game quicker and smarter. Everything is backed up and secure. Check out some of the most powerful tools and services in the industry offered at prices that finally indies can afford. Add the most advanced mobile analytics to your project for free and start measuring key data to acquire, retain, and monetize your players better. Use Marmalade to reach many different devices and platforms with single code base. Buy or sell assets like source code, images, 3D models, textures, environments, or audio files in our asset store. Test your game on hundreds of real devices and get detailed reports in minutes without integrating code or buying your own devices. Use Bugsnag to capture errors from your game in real time. The combination of tools and services offered in Gamebrain let you develop your game faster, smarter, and cheaper. So bring your ideas to life. Create awesome games for multiple platforms. Test them on real devices online and measure their performance with the best analytics. Now all in one place for prices that you can afford. Check back often because we are adding new services all the time.
Thanks for coming, everyone. Thanks. Awesome. Thank you very much. And we can wrap up with a few drinks and some more pizza.
Are you?